Some of its inhabitants believe that Egypt has been completely studied, while others believe that it still holds many secrets. This country, located in North Africa, is home to a civilization that dates back approximately 40 centuries, according to scholars. Although Egyptian civilization has received unparalleled attention in recent decades, there is still much to discover. It is one of the missing links in the history of this ancient civilization. Recently, archaeologists have raised numerous questions. If the pyramids are tombs, why are there no tombs inside them? How does the Sphinx, located in the middle of a dry desert, exhibit erosion caused by water? Where do the traces of ancient ships discovered near the Pyramid of Cheops come from? And, even more intriguing, how did modern technologies influence the time of the pharaohs? These questions lead us to reflect on the need to know more about Egyptian civilization, since it could completely reformulate the history of humanity. We are now in the Giza Valley, a suburb of Cairo, near the famous pyramids of Giza. The National Geographic television channel began live broadcasting the exciting operation to explore a secret tunnel in the Great Pyramid, also known as the Pyramid of Cheops. The entrance to this tunnel was discovered 10 years ago, but at that time researchers lacked the necessary techniques to explore it. Now the task has been entrusted to a robot developed by German scientist Rudolf Gantenbrink. This robot gently enters the tunnel carrying a camera that allows researchers to observe what is happening inside. At the time, Zahi Hawass, head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, believed the tunnel would lead to Khufu's tomb or some of his memorials, while other researchers thought they might find statues or treasures. However, upon reaching the end of the tunnel, the robot revealed only a rocky end, disappointing everyone. However, it was soon realized that it was not the true ending. It was another door in the middle of the tunnel. Opening that door seemed impossible, turning the attempt to uncover a mystery into an intriguing challenge. The first door led them to another enigma. According to Georgy Natifev, head of the Russian Society for the Study of Atlantic Ocean Problems, the builders of the pyramid intended to provide this option to prevent anyone inside from penetrating it. It was only natural that they would install additional protective barriers to prevent access to the interior through the tunnels if anyone discovered the entrance around them. Once inside, they would find themselves facing another door. This was necessary if no one was inside, and was crucial if the pyramid housed ancient scientific secrets that the pharaohs wanted to preserve with great efficiency. The pharaohs feared Khafreg, who lived thousands of years before Christ. According to historical narrative, it is assumed that the components of the most famous Egyptian pyramids were buried inside, but there are no inscriptions that confirm this story. This fact contradicts the funerary rituals and traditions of ancient Egypt, since no mummies have been found inside the pyramids, suggesting that they could have been looted by thieves or invaders at some distant time. However, if such theft occurred, it happened a long time ago. In the 9th century, Caliph Al-Mamun, ruler of Cairo, hired workers to drill into the northern wall of the Great Pyramid in search of Egyptian treasures or antiquities. Arab historians of the time believed that the pyramids held important scientific secrets, such as how to develop new work tools, stainless weapons, glass that could be folded without breaking, among others. However, after making the hole, Al-Mamun found nothing inside. No treasures, no scientific secrets, not even useful inscriptions. The crucial question is, was there anything inside the Great Pyramid? And if so, where did all its contents go? Some historians suggest that it was stolen years after Khufu's death, although this seems almost impossible, since the Great Pyramid had not been breached from that time until Al-Mamun's raid. In his book Fingerprints of the Gods, film director and author Graham Hancock points out interesting facts, including that when Al-Mamun walked through the pyramid, he found it completely empty. There were nothing but walls without inscriptions and a floor covered with sand. This finding is not limited to the Pyramid of Cheops, but applies to all pyramids. During the 3rd and 4th pharaonic dynasties, no mummies were found inside the pyramids, and there were no indications of royal burials. In some cases, no coffins were discovered, as was the case at the Meidum Pyramid. However, in the Pyramid of Sakni Sekmeket in Saqqara, which scientists accessed in 1954, a coffin was found. It is evident that no one has reached it since the construction of the pyramid. Although school textbooks claim that the pyramids are tombs of pharaohs, there is no historical source to support this. It is clear that building these pyramids was not an effort dedicated solely to burying a single pharaoh. Numerous actions were carried out in its construction, and unknown techniques may have been used. This achievement, without a doubt, is not limited to being a mausoleum. Scientists have investigated this aspect for almost a century. It is logical to question the idea that the pyramids are simply tombs. We must discover the purpose behind its construction. Russian archaeologist Alexander Vornin comments that scientists have found no tombs or human skeletons inside the pyramids, making them a baffling mystery. There is a hypothesis that suggests that they could have functioned as ancient temples or schools, where individuals entered, spent a period of their lives and left with acquired knowledge. Another idea links the pyramids to the emission of a mysterious energy, as noted by French researcher Anthony Baff in the first half of the 20th century. Baff claimed that the fire was spreading more rapidly in the pyramid area than in other areas. The Egyptian civilization had a good knowledge of applied mathematics and engineering, which was reflected in the construction of the pyramids of Giza. The Egyptians were meticulous and precise in their construction style, following specific patterns and using specialized human resources under the control of a chief engineer and his subordinates. Geometry was a necessary byproduct of the surveying process and was used to preserve the layout and ownership of the land. Hellenistic Egypt is considered the origin of lighthouse technology. In Alexandria, there was a cantilever hoist that lifted the cargo of ships. The city's lighthouse, built in the 3rd century BC, was designed by Sostratus of Cnidus. The ancient Egyptians could work solid granite with bronze tools, which can be seen in the discovery of monumental stone buildings such as that at Saqqara. The obelisks are another engineering mystery, with 29 of them having survived to date. The shape of the pyramids and obelisks may have been inspired by natural phenomena related to the sun, suggesting that knowledge of astronomy influenced the construction methods of the ancient Egyptians. In ancient Egypt, ramps were used to move heavy objects, such as blocks, to build pyramids. The Great Pyramid encodes important mathematical constants such as pi, sigma, and Euler, known and used by the Egyptians thousands of years ago. The geometry of the Great Pyramid's elevation also encodes the proportions of the moon and earth. The Egyptians were experts in irrigation and built irrigation canals and ditches using their ancient Egyptian calendar. The ancient Egyptians practiced basin irrigation to take advantage of the floods of the Nile River and fertilize fields. They built land and banks to create basins that allowed water to sit for a month before being drained to downstream basins. They also built canals with gates to control the flow of water and form reservoirs in case of drought. The ancient Egyptians created water wheels and nilometers advanced for their time. The water wheels used the Shadaf counterweight system to irrigate crops. The nilometer measured the height of the river and was used to predict floods or droughts. The ancient Egyptians relied heavily on the water of the Nile, and these inventions allowed them to control it better. The ancient Egyptians had an advanced approach to agriculture and irrigation, which baffles modern scientists. Granite cylinders have been found that are confusing since it is not known what they were used for, and how they were carved without modern tools. Early humans used flint points to drill holes in teeth, bones, and shells, and it is thought that this material was used to carve granite cylinders. An example is Core 7, a cylinder engraved with concentric lines from 4,500 years ago, discovered near the pyramids by Flinders Petrie. Scientists are confused by a granite rock that looks like a drill core, suggesting that the ancient Egyptians could have drilled holes in solid granite, which is surprising since the copper tools of the time were not sufficiently powerful. If the Egyptians used diamonds to cut stone, we would have to look at history, since even today only diamonds are strong enough to drill granite. The concentric grooves in the Petrie granite rock are a mystery that defies our current knowledge. Ancient Egyptians managed to drill holes in solid granite with copper tools, according to archaeological evidence. However, the mysterious appearance of Core 7, found by British archaeologist Flinders Petrie, has baffled modern scientists. This cylinder appears to have been drilled with a modern diamond-tipped electric drill, due to its continuous spiral core pattern and the power needed to drill into granite. Experts have concluded that the drill used to make this core was more powerful than any modern electric drill, and there is no known tool that has this strength. A team of physicists from Russia and Germany discovered that the Great Pyramid of Giza can concentrate electromagnetic energy in its base and internal chambers. They used theoretical physics methods to investigate how the pyramid would respond to electromagnetic radiation, including radio waves, microwaves, gamma rays, X-rays, and ultraviolet light. They discovered that the base and internal chambers were where the scattered fields were concentrated. This groundbreaking study could help scientists design nanoparticles with desired optical properties. Although it is unlikely that the ancient Egyptians were aware of these unique properties of the pyramid, this discovery raises the possibility that they may have known more about physics than previously thought. Egyptian medicine was very advanced for its time and has left records in ancient papyri dating back at least 5,000 years. Papyri provide information about diseases, diagnoses, and remedies. Although early Egyptian medicine was based on spells and religious magic, doctors performed medical or surgical procedures. The most important papyri discovered include the Berlin Papyrus, the Ebers Papyrus, and the Kahun Papyrus, which focus on general pathology, gynecology, and pediatrics. The Edwin Smith Papyrus describes cases of trauma and Egyptian knowledge of human organs, including blood vessels and the heart. Until the Persian invasion in 525 BC, Egyptian medical practices remained more or less the same and simple non-invasive surgical procedures were performed. The Egyptians discovered the medicinal properties of local and foreign plants, and offered several recipes in their papyri for health problems. The Ebers Papyrus provides 800 remedies, including topical ointments, bandages, and oral medications. They discovered metal surgical tools in Kharstum, made of bronze, and surgery was common to treat physical injuries. The triage system classified injuries as treatable, treatable, and untreatable. Tools used included saws, spoons, tongs, knives, drills, forceps, and more. Circumcision was common, and prosthetics such as artificial toes, eyes, and tongues were used. The ancient Egyptians had good knowledge of surgery, mummification, and religious autopsy, which provided them with adequate information about human morphology. They even correctly guessed the function of some organs. They knew that blood was a transport medium that carried oxygen and removed carbon dioxide, and they were also aware of the pulse and how it was related to the heart. They theorized about channels that transported air, blood, and water around the body and developed a way to treat a sick person by giving them a laxative that would unblock these channels. The Ebers Papyrus mentions the enema as a method of administering medications. In general, some Egyptian medical practices, especially in the field of surgery, were effective, as described in the Edwin Papyrus. Ancient Egyptian doctors advised hygiene and a healthy diet to prevent disease, and they had extensive medical knowledge that has baffled modern scientists. Shipbuilding was vital to the Egyptian economy and culture, and they used their knowledge of aerodynamics to build advanced ships with adjustable sails and stern-mounted rudders. The Egyptians were the first to use heavily armed ships and built everything from small papyrus rafts to large vessels capable of carrying heavy loads. The Khufu ship is an example of a well-preserved ship that would be found sailing today. Although it was not until 2400 BC that they were able to build ships that could withstand the waves of the Mediterranean. At the time the pyramids were built, Egyptian boats did not have keels, but used ropes to prevent capsizing. They were propelled by oars and a tall sail. Ships traveling to Lebanon to obtain valuable timber were recorded around 1500 BC. The Egyptians discovered how to build keels and internally reinforced hulls at this time, leading to two new types of ships, one with wide hulls for carrying cargo, and another with narrow galleys for war. The Egyptians used sundials and constellations to find out their location during their sea voyages. Some experts suggest that the ancient Egyptians had knowledge of electricity, as crypts have been found beneath the Temple of Hathor in Dendra that may contain ancient light bulbs and an object with a striking resemblance to a light bulb. However, this is still the subject of debate among experts. Some believe that the ancient Egyptians may have discovered electricity, due to inscriptions found in the Temple of Hathor in Dendra that appear to depict an ancient light bulb. While some proponents of this theory suggest that the ancient Egyptians produced light through rituals, most of these theories have been debunked by professionals. Although there is still a possibility that the ancient Egyptians encoded a deeper scientific meaning in the images and texts discovered. The Egyptians made a great contribution in astronomy, and their precision is still applied today. Although not considered a separate science at the time, Egyptian knowledge was deeply rooted in religion and mythology. The 7,000-year-old stone circles located in Upper Egypt are proof of their importance to religious life. The ancient Egyptians made important contributions to astronomy. At first, they used astronomical texts to establish the dates of religious festivals. They also developed a system of constellations and painted star charts on tombs and temples. During the Greco-Roman period, Claudius Ptolemy stood out as one of the most important astronomers of the time, cataloging more than 1,000 stars and describing how to predict planetary behavior. The Egyptians observed that the flooding of the Nile coincided with the appearance of the stars at the gate, and they used this observation to develop a 365-day calendar. His knowledge of astronomy also guided the orientation of sacred buildings and the fixing of New Year's Day. The Egyptians believed that their gods lived in the kingdom of Osiris, which was located in the constellation Orion. The three pyramids of Giza represent the stars of Orion's belt, while the Sphinx represents the constellation Leo. Today, astronomers have discovered that the pyramid was designed to look toward the circumpolar stars in the northern sky very precisely. The ancient Egyptians, with their knowledge of astronomy, discovered variable stars and accurately calculated the Aldal period before the Europeans. They developed tools such as the sundial, the hourglass, and the marquette to measure stellar azimuths and divided the day into hours. They may also have proposed the idea of a spherical Earth. They built astronomically aligned temples with roofs to view the stars and calculate the hours at night. Although their observation of stellar alignment was not completely accurate, they were more advanced in astronomy than any other ancient civilization. The ancient technology discovered in Egypt eerily resembles that of the 21st century. We should not underestimate their civilization and their progressive approach and vast knowledge.